Oops.
Oh, well.
Yeah, well, with this PMR thing I have, I'm feeling much better. It'll still be another 6 months till I'm 100% probably, but um, when you take steroids and those kinds of things, you become immunocompromised. And so between having really high fatigue levels and um, the fact that I'm immunocompromised, my best friend, who's a doctor, we decided, I shouldn't go visit a third world country when you're immunocompromised. Become immunocompromised. And okay, we are live on YouTube. Okay.
Live to travel another day.
Yes, well, in fact, I'm a little tired today, and I'm doing my presentation a little different because I was working on my trip. I since I canceled Sri Lanka, but I'm feeling better. I have a trip. I have a month and a half trip coming up starting a month from now. So to Turkey, uh, Croatia, and Poland, and a bunch of Hungary and all that. So I'm stoked. But trying to get the airfare all done because these are three separate trips, but they have to back to back to back each other.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. So we are doing the recording. It may ask you if you agree, etc. Let's start it off. Oh, today we're going to go over some of the stuff that Al has behind him on these screens. And while they look almost similar, those screens are different because one's the Apple Watch and one is the iPhone. And we're going to discuss that. And what I did is during the presentation, which I really encourage everyone to go watch. It was the September 9th event. Al will be putting up a link to it, I'm sure, very soon. I could play clips from it, but then we have the chance that we might get bounced off, the video might get bounced off of YouTube. So I won't, but I have big screenshots like Al has there all the way through the presentation, and we'll kind of go into it. But the presentation is worth its weight in gold. But I wanted to just kind of, as we go through, and I'll bring the photos up, it will just kind of talk about the things. And this is very much a back and forth. Feel free to ask any questions you want. That being said, if it's not about the new Apple Watch and it's not about the new iPhones and the new AirPods, go ahead and ask any other questions you want. This is kind of our loose tech Q&A. Oh, and I will remind you, we will stop about quarter till, or maybe even 11:30, because this link, I think Wits uses the same link, if I'm not mistaken, right, Bev?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, but anyway, that's why, and because we changed the date. And the other thing was, I think we
Yes, they do use the same link, Ken.
okay, right. And just to keep us so we're exactly a month apart, I think our October meeting will have the same situation because we would normally do it October 5th, but I am attending a reunion at Squaw Valley for employees that were there in the 80s on Saturday. And Pete Losey is in town here for his sister's wedding, so he won't be able to do it. So we're going to move it to the 12th. And yeah, and so it'll be moved to that, and Bob will put a blast out. And then I end up leaving I leave on the 2nd, I fly to Istanbul. All right. So that being said, feel free to either raise your hand digitally or raise your hand or just unmute yourself and ask any questions that you might have. And we do have a small group. Okay, Randy, go for it.
Yeah, playlist. This is crazy, but I have fun, and I was trying to, since I'm going to Disney World in Florida, I was trying to get a Guardians of the Galaxy. They have different songs, so an Apple Music playlist. That's all I'm trying to do. And it's so easy to do. I mean, it's just like, wow, it should be so easy, piece of cake. I go up to File, New, Playlist. Hey, good, that's cooking. And then it says, oh, just drag it into the sidebar, the songs that you want. There's 6, and they interchange them. You never know which song you get when the roller coaster starts. So, I find the songs, but then it's not on the sidebar. It's more, in other words, I just need a simple way to do playlists. I've done them before, but I might be getting older. I don't know.
To make a new playlist or add songs to a playlist you've made,
Oh,
or what?
add songs to a playlist.
Well, I'm no help because
That's okay.
I rarely do that because most of mine doing it in mobile, and of course with Apple Music, I can tell it to do things. So if anybody else is proficient with Apple or music, feel free to bring it up. But I'm sorry, I'm at a
Oh, no,
loss. I'm no help.
no problem.
You've
The
stumped
reason
me.
I like to do this is when I'm flying, it's a long flight, it's not as long as to Sri Lanka or anything like that, but there's 2 segments from Sacramento to Orlando, and I like to listen to music, with the headsets on and from my iPhone. So I download it to the iPhone. I've got the music. I have no problem just downloading songs so I can play them without Wi-Fi on the airplane. But I just trying to organize like 6 songs into a playlist, but I can find the 6 songs that I download to the iPhone. So not an issue. I can live with it, but just thought I'd check. Thanks.
Yeah. I mean, Al, you use Apple Music, right?
Yeah, occasionally I use Apple Music, and at my desktop, there's I have playlists and stuff, and to add places, to add music, I just I have it available and drag it on over into that playlist, and it adds it, and then all my devices are all synced up. Is it
But I think the other thing is he needs to make sure that it downloads to the phone so it's not streaming, right?
That would be ideal.
Yeah.
Give me a second. I'll see what I can come up with here.
Well, while you're doing that, I want to tell. So this kind of comes up in travel, and for instance, Randy's talking about using his phone, and I know Randy, he probably has some noise canceling headphones, and that's always really good. But many times if I'm on a flight, I want to use either my AirPods. So I use AirPods on shorter flights, anything 5 hours or less, because I can put them in my ears. I just got the new AirPods Pro 2, but the AirPods Pro, and we're going to talk more about AirPods, are nice and convenient, and they don't weigh as much as my big AirPods Pro Max, whatever they are. But if you want to watch you want to listen to the video that's played on the airplane, you don't really have a way to do a wire. There is a kind of a way on the AirPod Max, but it's a very expensive cable. So what you do is you get, and I've put the link in the chat, they're called AirFly. And they're apps. Al is nodding his head. Randy has them also.
I have one. They're great.
And here's some tricks with them. So what they do is they plug in, and by the way, on the planes, first you have to think about this. Most of the newer planes have a single headphone jack, a normal headphone jack. Older planes have two headphone jacks. And the reason for that is it used to be that there would be a left and a right, and that's what the two jacks are. So from Amazon, I get this little thing and I keep it in the case with me when I'm traveling in the plane. I have my own little ditty bag that's got all the kind of cables and connections. But what it does, it takes it from that two prong and puts it into a one prong so that it goes in. But what you do is the AirFly has one prong and it plugs into the audio source. And then it transmits it by Bluetooth to your AirPods Pro Max, to your car, whatever it is, it's got Bluetooth. And it can both send and receive. If you get the Pro version, it also allows you, I can have two Bluetooth devices that are synced. So you could then, if you're traveling with someone else and they have Bluetooth, you're both listening to the same thing, whether it be the music you're streaming. Even if you're streaming, it would be a way to do it, Randy. But secondly, like to listen to that, or in my case, like if I'm playing a movie on my iPad, which I do a lot, is I'll play something on my iPad that I've downloaded because Netflix, and even most of your TV, Comcast, etc., and Amazon Prime allow you to download most of them to your device, so you don't have to worry about streaming. So what that does is it does it. Now let me tell you where there's two more benefits of the AirFly. Now, when I'm like, for instance, on this trip I'm going on, they will have the tour director will have a microphone so they don't have to shout to the group, and you'll have headsets they provide with a little receiver. Well, whatever you do, always take the headset with you in case you mess up with the AirFly or the battery goes dead or whatever. But you can take that and you can plug the AirFly into the headphone jack of that. And then what my recommendation is, you obviously wouldn't want to use the big cans. And I don't use both AirPods unless you have a hearing issue, because you don't want to block out other sound. You're crossing streets. Someone else will make some to you. So I use the AirPod. I put the AirPod in one ear and I can have conversation. And there's actually a thing on your AirPods it's called transparency mode. So it works great for that. And secondarily, when I take I always, if they have it, first time I'm in a city, first thing I do, I take a hop on, hop off bus so I can learn the city, figure out where I want to go back. And most of the time, they have a little headphone jack right next to you. They provide you some cheap, free earbuds, and you get to select the language because it's being broadcast in all kinds of languages. But I plug the AirFly into that so I can use my comfortable AirPods Pro. And in fact, at that point, I do turn noise canceling on because, hey, people can shout, do whatever they want, but I'm not driving the bus, so it doesn't matter. But I do recommend you do something to remind yourself, because it's easy to leave behind. So I love AirFly. They're by 10, what is it? 12 South or
12 South.
12 South, yeah. Who actually used to make like or they still do, laptop stands and things like that. But it's fantastic. We will talk about the AirPods coming up because there's some new things in AirPods and they've made noise canceling AirPods more affordable. So is there any questions on that and like travel tips? And by the way, the noise canceling is something that really, really helps. And the way it works, it senses the ambient noise, the whooshing air that's going by in the plane, and it picks that up and it creates, well, sound always travels in a wave. And what happens is the microphone listens to that and creates an opposite wave. And so when those two sound waves cancel out each other, that's how you get rid of the ambient noise. So, all right, any questions, any tech things before we go into the presentation? Boy, it's going to be an easy crowd. We'll be done in about 10 minutes. Oh, Barbara, go right ahead. Unmute yourself and
Yeah, I have a question, both when I'm on a website and also in email on the, using the Apple Mail program. Is there a way to quickly find out how to spell a word and define the definition of a word? I'm sure there is, but I don't know if you have to do a setting or how you do it.
okay, are you saying like if you're reading something?
Yeah,
Because obviously spelling it is only if you're typing.
right. I'm talking both. If I'm, if word
Let's
comes.
yeah,
up, I
let's
don't know the
let's
definition, but if
approach
I'm
both of
typing
them.
it. Try typing it and how do I find out how to spell it? Because my spelling is not as good as it used to be.
Well, but you should have autocorrect enabled. And sometimes it can be a little pernicious.
Yeah,
But here's what happens if you don't have autocorrect enabled and you type in, well, I always use the example when I'm when doing this. If you mean to put the word spell and you put spiel, SPEEL, and you keep typing and autocorrect doesn't correct it, it means you have autocorrect off. But it will underline that word with little jagged red or blue lines, and it will tell you it's misspelled. And you come back over to that word and hover over with your cursor, hold down the control key or right click on the mouse or two finger click on a trackpad. We're going to call that secondary click. To
okay,
enable secondary click, it's usually a right click on the mouse, two fingers and click on a trackpad, or hold control down, the control button, far left corner of your keyboard, and click. And that will bring up a contextual menu. And it will, if you're close, it'll give you spelling choices. If you're way off, it's going to say, hey, sorry. But there's a little trick.
yeah,
You could activate the microphone and say the word.
ah,
But there's
I,
one
I
wrong
have
thing.
to I have to point out one thing. I forget what grade I was in. It might have been like sixth grade or something. And I was pretty good in school. I didn't do a lot of work, but anyway, I'm sitting there trying to write something, and it was the word any, A-N-Y. I have a total loss of my brain. I cannot. And so, since I don't know how to spell the very simple word any, how do I start looking it up in a dictionary? Because that was back, this was the late 60s. Oh man, it was like, God, and I like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go ask somebody in seat next to me because I mean, I'm not. And
you're not
I
going to admit that.
finally came to me, but oh God, that was hilarious. Now, one thing I do a lot, and you can do anywhere. Someone might they might send you a real techie word, or they'll send you a word that you don't know, or you're reading an article. A lot of it's kind of like me. When I do tech stuff, I say I like to de-geekify it. I try get it in common terms like that. But so other people try to show off by words they write that and they're very appropriate, but it doesn't do any good if people don't know what it is. But if you hover your cursor over a word, you don't have to double click and highlight it or anything. But if you hover your cursor over a word and you secondary click, whether it be the phone, an iPad, or your computer, actually on the iOS devices, you have to press and hold on the word. You don't have to highlight it though. You press it up, and you may even have to scroll across to the menu. The copy and paste comes up, but you'll see something that says look up, and look up will go. In fact, you know what? I should demonstrate it. I'll share my screen and do that because it's kind of the same on all of them. So hang on one sec here. It's very effective. The first time you do it, it may ask you if it can have access to your dictionary. Okay, so people are seeing my screen. So here's, for instance, we're looking at this AirFly ad right here. Okay, so I'm sorry, let me take my cursor. Now you can see my cursor. Okay, so I'm going to go over here on the word transmitter, and I'm going to secondary click, and it says look up or translate. See, that helps now with the
Yeah.
new translation. Or you can tell it to speak the word too. So I'm going to say look up transmitter, and there it is.
Wow.
And that applies. So on an iOS device, you have to press and hold your finger on the word, and then a menu will come up above it, and it'll say cut, copy, paste. And depending on, like, if it's an iPhone and it's not long enough, there'll be an arrow on the right, and that panel has to slide. In fact, you know what? Let me demonstrate on an iPhone. So let's do this. Let's quickly see if I can get this to work. Make sure I'm on the same network. Yes. Yes. Okay, I'm gonna go to Reflector. It'll probably tell me there's a new version. No, it doesn't. Hang on here. I'm gonna go into screen share on the phone. Mirror. There we go. So I'm gonna go in on my phone here, and we'll go to AirFly. Oh, here, yeah, I'm working on hooking some things. So I'll press and hold on the word veranda. Oh, that's a link, so that won't work. Let's go to AirFly. And oh, obviously it's laid out a little different, but I'll go down here to, I'll go to treadmills, and I'm gonna press and hold on I press and hold for a second, and then this screen comes up. Well, let's get rid of that. So again, I'm gonna go treadmill. I press and hold, and I get a little haptic feedback, and you can see there it says look up. But
Right.
sometimes you have to hit this arrow on the right to get more choices, like the translate or speak and things like that. On the iPad, if you did it, or even if, let's see if it works when I'm like sideways. So you'll notice being sideways, the contextual menu showed up and it's longer.
Right.
So, and when your phone's in regular mode, so again, press and hold, and it does highlight it, but you wouldn't want to do like 2 words or anything. So again, I bring it over, and let's go to the word headphone. I touch it, but then I hold it for a second,
Yeah.
and then the contextual menu comes up.
Super.
Okay,
Yeah, and how about on the Mac, on your computer, what do you do?
that's the first one I did. I'll go back to that in a second here.
I'm sorry, I guess I missed
Let
it.
me so on the Mac, so if you have a trackpad, again, we're going to call this the secondary click. Normally on a mouse, it's called right click, mouse or trackball. That would be right click because you normally left click. Secondary click is right click, or on a trackpad, you click with 2 fingers when you hover over the word. Okay, I'm going to do it over headphones or wireless. There we go. So you secondary click. There's 3 ways that I know. There's probably more, but if I'm doing it right now because I have a different mouse, and I'm holding that. I'll hold down my control key. I'm just hovering over the word wireless, and then I click, and I'm keeping holding the control key down, and I go here, I don't have to hold it down. Actually, once this menu's up, oh, so here's another good thing. So, and again, think about it where you're looking for, let's say I've had this happen where I'm reading an article and there's something they recommend, whether it be a trip to a certain place and there's no hyperlink or a certain product. You can go here, you can say, look up wireless, translate wireless, search with Google, which
Ah,
can be very effective. You can copy it to to copy and paste. I could do a whole bunch of this stuff and make a new quick note. I could share that word. I can ask it to speak that word. And then there's a bunch of other things that kind of on the periphery. But the big one here is when I say look up wireless, it comes up with this. Now, if it may ask you, here's where you configure the dictionaries or open in dictionary. So it first of all gives you this word. But then what's interesting is they have new things down here like there's Siri knowledge. So Siri, and we're going to talk a bit about Siri when we talk about Apple Intelligence. Here would be amazing. Wireless app transfer in the App Store. I'm sure there's more wireless things than that. And you can say view right on the App Store. Images of wireless. And a Siri suggested website. I wonder if AT&T is paying for that. So it's really good. Again, that secondary click, and you're going to look to do look up, and it gives you that. And then here, and then the configuring of the dictionaries. So let's say you read stuff in German. You can have that also be a dictionary that it will look up for you. Now, if it's a one-time deal and it's a word in German, I would tell it to just do it in Google, or it might even do it. But unless you're doing that a lot, you don't need to configure. I do the Apple Dictionary and Wikipedia is new. That got added without me. And then here's the Oxford, because this way I also have thesaurus done, because the nice thing is when we do the lookup, it will come up and give you this thesaurus. Let's go back here and let's go to wireless, look up, and oh, it's interesting. Because it should be, maybe there's no, let's say plug, see if that does it. So there was no thesaurus for wireless, but here it comes up and it shows a thesaurus also.
okay.
Now, the fact that I have three, the Apple Dictionary, which is good for Apple products, like the word iPad normally wouldn't have been in a dictionary. It is by now, of course. But it doesn't give me the choice of the three dictionaries. They're just here.
Okay,
So, and then when I say open in dictionary, here you go.
great.
And then it shows all Wikipedia, Apple Dictionary, or thesaurus. So that's, again, when you're reading something, that's not going to help you when you write it.
Yeah.
So I would say, let's try Siri here. Oh, here we go. Spell the word dictionary.
Here's some info about dictionary.
Oh, it went away, but it could have clicked on it. So, all right. But again, the other thing is if you can fire up dictation on your iOS devices, there's always a microphone right next to the space bar. On your computer, it is, depending on how you have it configured, I'll show you. I'm going to go here. I'm going to open, I'll open a new text edit document. And if I double click my control key, some of you, it's the function key. This is the way you can activate your speech to text, period. If you needed to spell the word ambidextrous, comma, it might do it for you, period. So let's go see where to configure that, because that'll happen on your keyboard on your iOS device. There's always a microphone, but I'm going to show you how to enable it on your computer. And if we go into, let's see, text to, oh, so it's in keyboard first. You go to keyboard, and then you go down here to dictation. It may or may not be on by default, and it's right here. So it's in your system settings or preferences keyboard, which actually can be accessed from up here.
Okay.
Same thing for if you have your keyboard up there. While we're on the subject keyboards, you know how you always want to put these symbols in and things like, oh, this will be great. I'll show you this. So I have it so it displays my keyboard up here. But so if I go into the keyboard settings, I tell it to keyboard. I guess it's always up in the upper right. I thought sometimes you had to configure it, but I'll leave that up for a second. But if I go up here and I say show emoji and symbols, it brings up all of these, and you have search in the upper right corner. But also, if I'm typing in this document, it may not work in a text edit, but let's see here. If I go click on this, see, it puts it in. Let's raise our fonts here so we can see what's going on.
Oh, that's a lot better.
Okay. So that's, again, you go up and click on the keyboard and you say, it would normally say show. The other one is, I'm going to say show keyboard viewer. Now, this one, let's see if I can. I don't think I can make it. Oh, I can. All right, let's get rid of this one. So if your keyboard's messed up, you could type with this. So I'm going to go to this document over here, and I'm going to hit return. I'm using my mouse. You'll notice the cursor went over here. And the cool thing is, just like on your iOS device, these are the words that pop up as you type, and this will get better using artificial intelligence. But these are all the things that are on my current keyboard. So if I can say, did I, and I'll even click there, spiel. It correct. And while I'm doing this, I can type with my regular keyboard too at the same time. I'm doing that now. Okay. And then that's a question mark. Okay. So let's go back and put this out of the way. And by the way, oh, before I get back into this stuff, I'll hide that so you're not seeing what's up. But you always wonder what happens and how you get special characters. So, and I'm going to just go on my keyboard here. Here is, I'm pressing the command, the old Apple logo, right? So if I press and hold that, here's how the keyboard changes. It's normally like this. When I press that, you can see it doesn't change too much with command. What happens if I hit option? Not much either. What happens if I hit Control? Okay. What happens if I do a combination? Okay. Well, now this is weird. So because there's special characters is what I'm looking for.
Might be because you're in text edit.
Yeah, okay. Good
You
point,
know, if
Bob.
you do the same thing in pages or words, you get a lot of
It will, but
stuff
you know how
changing.
how text edit needs to be RTF and converted.
Mhm.
So well, I'm going to hold off on that. But I think here's the problem. It's now in. So the other thing rather than emojis, you can also do bullets and stars and symbols. So those are all very cool. And again, oh, let me make, if that'll go bigger. It'll go bigger, but you don't see more. But if I wanted to put this arrow over in here, I would go down here and go to emojis and symbols and arrows. Boom, we'll give it this arrow. And I just click on it, usually twice. There you go. And then this is just like a font. So I can make this much bigger if I wanted to, because fonts scale. Fonts scale very well. Okay. But there's yeah, so I'm just trying to think options. Oh, here we go. So if I hit option on my keyboard alone, you see what happens. You get the, oh shoot, don't be in draw mode, Ken. Oh, that's because I had option down. All right. If I just hold control, that's not doing anything. And command does very little. It's funny, it looks like it shifts the numbers, but what it does is it takes out the show. Oh, by the way, yeah, that's the other thing is what happens when you, oh, that's right. When you hit shift and option, look at shift and option, you
Oh,
can
yeah.
see these two are pressed. But shift and option, you get the euro sign, you get the OE for German, you get a with an accent, you get the Apple logo. And I'm going to show you something pretty cool with that in a minute, because that's normally a key combination. So it's good to have. This is one of Elon Musk's son's name, whatever that is. So anyway, that's keyboard viewer. They're way up at the very top. I'm going to pull up keyboard settings just to be sure that, because you used to have to say display it, and it doesn't. So again, if you're ever stuck, you can go into there. If you only have your mouse to control, that will work. But let's get rid of
Anytime you want the Apple logo, no matter where you are,
yeah,
Option Shift K.
yeah, Option Shift K. And I'm going to show you a little secret I have on that I've set up. I'm glad this came up because we got plenty of time to go through this stuff, but this stuff is really cool. So let's fix this. So you see these have, as Barbara was asking about the spelling here. Now, if I secondary click on this word, on it correct, all I do here is not, it doesn't know, it can't look that up. So now I've done that and it's corrected it. Many times, if it corrects a word for you using autocorrect, after it's corrected, it'll have a blue line in it and you can click too. But I'm going to go to the word spiel. I'm going to take one letter out of it. Oh, that didn't work. Oh, hang on. Great. So I have misspelled the word spell. So, and by the way, when I hit control, it, because I'm using this cursor thing here, it does this. That's all that happens. You won't see that. It'll just be a click. And now it says, oh, did you mean spell? Did you mean sleep? And it's looking at it. Now I can say spell out, correct spelling automatically. But let's just say this word spiel was something that you use a lot, whether it be a medical term or a technical term. You can say ignore spelling just this once, or learn the spelling and it will put it in your Apple dictionary. But don't do that if it's really that you've misspelled it. Okay. And we still have lookup, translate, search with Google. And then, of course, we have cut, copy, paste, all kinds of other things, transformations, all that. But the big thing is it gives you your auto correction here. Now, I have autocorrect on, and this applies to your,
Do you have
your,
grammar check on?
I'm sorry,
Do you have grammar check on?
I'm not sure. I think I do. And grammar check's very good. But let's talk about autocorrect. Everyone, just like with Siri, there's a love-hate relationship. So I'm going to we're gonna go back to the word spell. Oh, wait, I thought I had autocorrect on. So oh gosh, it's been too many times now. Let's say, wow. For some reason, it seems that autocorrect is disabled, but I'm going to tell you how to defeat autocorrect. Actually, I know it'll do it on my phone, so let me get my phone back online here.
Ken,
And
before you leave on that, my brain spaced out. How do you get the keyboard viewer icon up in the upper right?
well, if you're on an older operating system, you may have to go into your keyboard preferences, same
Okay.
place where you enable dictation. And then it'll say display on the board. Okay, so I'll go to mail, gonna create a new mail. All right, so you can see my screen, hopefully. So if I go down here, I'll get rid of can, and I'm gonna type auto core, and I'm gonna use one R. So see, it's trying to auto correct for me. Now, if I hit the space bar, it's gonna auto correct it to autocracy, or there's other ones that it might think it is. But if I go back here, oh, that's right, hang on. Auto core. See, it suggests autocorrect. So let's say I wanted to just use this word auto core. This is a product or something. If I hit the space bar right now, it's going to put in autocorrect. So the way you can defeat autocorrect is, and again, this won't permanently save it or anything, but in this case, what I want it to do is not make it autocorrect, because I hit a space bar, it's going to automatically fill it in. So I type one more character, any number, any letter, whatever you want. And in this case, I'll just go X. And now I backspace by clicking on the backspace. And now when I hit the space bar, I have let it not autocorrect. So again, I'll do that again. Now, why is it? See, it's offering me because it's got red underlines, it's offering me other things. Okay, so let's go back. Actually, I'll just do the word correct. Let's say it's a company, and See, it wants to correct if I hit the space bar. So I type any letter or digit. I hit backspace down here. And now I can hit the space bar and it's fine. But it's still warning you it might be misspelled. So if I press and hold on that, well, I gotta select it. On the iPhone, you have to press and say select, and it does the whole thing. And then I can do autofill and format and look up. So it's going to look up the wrong correct. Oh, that's weird. Oh, it went to their website. I didn't touch it. All right, let me get this out of here.
Line has been waiting quite a while.
I wanted to finish this thought, so.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a lot of stuff. We have 2 questions up, or did. Looks like Bev or somebody took theirs down. Is it Linda? Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Line,
It's Lena. Yeah,
Lena,
autocorrect stuff drove me crazy because I had been at war with spell check and predictive texting because I like to write, and it would go behind me after I had put in what I wanted and recorrect it. And then something like uniform would become lion or something like that. I'd spend all my time re-editing and it still would go out wrong. So I disabled everything, autocorrect, predictive text, blah, 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 check spelling. So I have a few things left, and I would like to know what they relate to that I didn't undo, but I have no idea what they mean in the keyboard. So
I don't know if I'm getting your question.
okay, everyone loves all this automatic thing, but if you write and you're creative, it will make you crazy because what happened is the phone and the computer would re-edit what I had already edited. And it would happen over and over again. So someone getting the text from me would have something totally different. There'd be these weird words and stuff like that. So I said, I've had it.
Well, they may be contextually wrong, but they will never be, the word will never be misspelled.
No, the word was never misspelled.
Right.
But I spent an awful lot of time doing the editing. And then even after I edited, it would recorrect.
Well, were you working in Word?
Yes.
That's the problem. Get rid of that piece of crap.
Oh.
that's not the problem.
What you can do is you can always go in and disable autocorrect like I'm showing here. This is system wide, but many times Word won't respect it. So you have to go into Word and make those adjustments. Bob, you had some input. Go ahead.
Well, I wanted to finish that. So the problem I have now is I've disabled everything. So except for a few things, and I don't know what they mean, like slide to type, character to preview, and shortcut.
Well, I'm going to talk about shortcuts in a second. So
You
if you don't know what those other things do, don't worry about them.
Well, I still have those on. I have disabled everything else.
Well, yeah, those are different things, but I'm going to talk about shortcuts in a second. Bob, what was your input? I'm sorry.
You already said it by the time
So I need to change from Word, get out of it. But this is on my phone. I didn't put Word on my phone. I have.
Well, you can go into your phone and disable autocorrect.
I already did that, but.
Okay, then it shouldn't be.
So the other things.
So okay, go ahead.
So it's okay to leave these other things, the slide to type, whatever that means. And
well, unless it does something funky, it's like when I go into the mouse settings and stuff and trackpad settings, there's all these extra things that they're functional if people use it, but if not, it's like, oh my God, what happened? All my screens went away and stuff.
what does it mean? What does it mean? What is slides?
Okay, go ahead and Google the exact words and it'll give you a
Slide
great
to type.
description.
If I do it, I'll lose you guys. I'm sorry.
No, I don't mean right now.
Okay.
Write it down. Grab, go analog, grab a pad of paper and a pencil and write it down.
Okay, got it, got it. Thank you, big help.
No, you're fine. So I want to show you where, because she brings up a good point. This is where you go in keyboard spelling and prediction in your settings, and it's something similar in iOS. But and by the way, here it is. Bev, I found it. It's in show input menu in input or in menu bar. And that it used to be in a different location, but now it's buried in this one. And your operating system may look different. So I do have spelling automatically off. I do, yes, because of the keyboard on this one. I was getting pissed off with it. So capitalize words automatically. That's really good. Show inline predictive text. In other words, it's trying to help you along the way. Double space, which used to be in computers early days, after a sentence, you would always hit a double space. Well, when you do a double space, just like on your iOS device, you can have it do a period. You can do spelling and you can do by language. And then use smart dashes. And then for double quotes and single quotes, that's how they look. You can change the look of the quotes because different languages do it. But while we're here, I'm going to show you the coolest thing. Oh, and by the way, again, this Apple logo is as Bob said, what is it? Command Option K, I believe, right, Bob?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes that. But now what's really funny is it's
Option Shift K.
Command Shift?
Option Shift K.
Got it. So what I did is, because I have to type, or I'm typing things a lot of time, I've created a text shortcut. Now, by the way, when you do a logo like this and certain emojis, they may not work, whether it be on Facebook or other places like that. They may filter that out and it won't show up correctly. But what I've done is I've made a keyboard shortcut when I type AAW, it says, oh, do you want it to do Apple Watch? And I made another one, AATV. Oh, no, I'm sorry, ATV. If I spell right. Oh, wow. Okay, well, that one's not working. But anyway, I've created this text shortcut. Also, if I put in my, I'm not going to do it because YouTube won't like it if I put in my street address. So in your keyboard settings, you go down here to, and by the way, dictation, this is where you want it. And that works really well. So, and then here's to activate dictation. Here's the keyboard shortcut. I have it so I press Control twice, or you can press the globe twice. Anything you do here, you just don't want it to be something you normally do. And what that does is, in this case, I double tap Control, and it starts typing for me. Okay, and you tap it one time to turn off that microphone. Okay, but here's text replacements, it's called. So if I go and click on text replacements, and the beauty of this is it, once you put it in here, now it syncs across all your devices. Oh yeah, I did screw up. It's AATV. So what I've done is I've created this shortcut. I just say AAL and I get Apple. AAM, I bring up Apple Music. And these are just words that I've done. I type a lot. Oh, and this is one that's funny. Let's see if I can. So if I click here, this is this whole long phrase that I have, and I can type in that, the word A, and then capital info. Autonomous driving. I had this for Empower Mac. I was doing presentations about ChatGPT. I put just these letters KS, it does my name. I was doing some tech support for these DMV kiosks. And whenever I was doing a report, I would put in, rather than type this in every time, I made this thing, and this whole long sentence was there just by putting left forms. This is replenished right form. The Model 3, I had this logo for here. MacNexus, I put MN. On my way. So the disease that I've had here that I'm getting over is called polymyalgia rheumatica. I didn't want to type that every time, so I put poly-M. And if I do that, I'll go here and type poly. And as soon as I hit the M, look, it does it, but all I do now is hit the space bar and it fills it in. And yes, it doesn't have a capital R. It's designed that way. Now is the time for all good men. Oh, this is one. So people talk like resetting the computer. I get these emails constantly. So I made one that if I hit ZPram for zapping the pram, that it talks about it. Oh, the hard reset, because people call about or ask about that. So I've simply taken this website link and put that in here. So these text replacements, what you do is you go, well, wait, where is it to add them? Oh, here we go. So if I hit plus, I want to replace. So this would be if I say, come on. It's not, oh, there we go. So if I type that in, I would replace with, shucks. So I could do, like that, add. So now if I go over here and I type, shucks, does it. Your names, your addresses, things like that. And it now syncs via the cloud to your other devices. So that's keyboard shortcuts. And it's fantastic. Let me see where aw shucks went, because I really don't need that. There it is. And then I highlight it and hit minus. So remember the little, and there's some of these are built in, like for instance, all of these are built in with it. I've added the rest of these. I think trademark was built in. I don't know why that's there. That's crazy. Okay. Now is the time for all good men. Oh, I don't have the whole thing. Anyway, I was doing building stuff where Whistler Blackcomb that I was doing. Okay. So any questions on text replacement? That should save you a ton. All right. Moving on along. Great question that brought that up. And I don't need to save that. All righty. So we're going to go and start. Oh, why don't I start where it's supposed to start? There we go. Okay, so the Apple event on, and please, oops, I want to, actually, I'm going to advance it at my own speed. So let's do this. Great. All right. So I'm not able to see. So you guys, if a hand gets raised in the chat, please let me know. Anyway, my screen's visible, right? Al, nod your head, Al. Great.
Yes.
Okay, so the Apple event was, this event always is the annual iPhone update. And with that, this year they added AirPods and there was some new stuff there. And it's also usually the Apple Watch event because the two go hand in hand. There are some new iPads coming out. We hope the refresh of the iPad mini and possibly an M4 MacBook Pro, things like that. But they don't, what it is the whole world needs, and the media needs to know about iPhone. But we have a smaller audience when it's iPads and Mac products. So what they don't want to do is they don't want to dilute the fact that it's the iPhone, because that is what's driving the ship, so to speak. All right. So this just, they had some neat little things going on as they do in the beginning. This is pretty interesting. She had an injury. She's had an injury, so she uses her iPads Pro to you can say the word "hey" and I say the word "shlomo," so nobody's things activate. And we will talk. I've talked about the fall detection and stuff with the Apple Watch. Let's see here. Everybody's got one, right? So everything started out showing us the Apple Watch. Now, let's talk about Apple Watch first. I think the most important thing is from the Apple Watch, check me on this, but I believe the 6 and newer, not counting the SE. So the regular numbered watch and the Ultra, since the Series 6, has included a blood pressure sensor. I'm sorry, a blood oxygen sensor. It's called a pulse ox. And what that is the same thing so in the hospital, or you can do it at home, you put that little thing on your finger and it shines a little light through your nail, and it actually reads not only your pulse, but how oxygenated your blood is just by that light. Well, that company called Massimo, and it's not the old clothing line, they have a patent on that. That patent expires in 2028, but Apple has that sensor in the watch, and up until last December 31st, they were able to keep it active. But there was a cease and desist. Apple felt the royalties they were asking for was way too much, so Apple held off. So any Apple Watch that Apple sells from last December 31st, ostensibly up till 2028, unless they settle the patent dispute, will have the blood sensor in there, the blood oxygen sensor, but it is disabled by software. And no, you can't enable it yourself. Now, everybody, and the question would be going up is, what happens if to an existing Apple Watch? If you have it enabled on your Apple Watch now, it will continue to be enabled. But if you need the blood oxygen sensor, and not a lot of people do, it's nice to have. The one thing is, rather than putting something on your finger, it will periodically test it. So it builds up, just like the heart rate, it will build up a lot of information. But it is there, and at some time when the cease and desist order is expired or the patent is expired, it will be able through software to come back again, but if you have it, you'll be able to. For a couple months, you were able to sneak around it and go to the Apple Store on Amazon because they still had older stock. If you get a refurbished, it might have it, but it has, and I'm really curious if it stymied it. But the blood oxygen sensor you can buy on Amazon for $30. So I'm one of those that, oh man, I'm going to miss it. I don't use it very much. And so if you need one, it's just a consideration, but I don't want you to be disenchanted if you buy the Apple Watch and your old one had the blood oxygen sensor and your new one doesn't have it enabled.
It
Does that
can,
make sense how
what's,
that works logistically? Go ahead, Bev.
what's the, I use a sleep apnea machine, so I use my O2 sensor just out of curiosity, especially if I skip a night or something, just to see how I'm doing. But what's the life expectancy on Apple Watch? I mean, can I realistically expect my 1-year-old, 2-year-old watch to last till 2028?
Less than 35 years. So yeah, it's a good question. So
My
battery
first
life is
watch
first and
for
foremost
5 or 6
something.
years.
What, Bob?
I used my first Apple Watch, which was the second year's model, for about 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
The only reason it was working fine. Only reason I went for a new watch is the OS was not going to support the old watch anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to mention. So there's two
And
there's
the
two things.
other thing I should add, Beverly, is the big advantage if you have sleep apnea, which I do have, but I have a very rare form, is while you're asleep, if you have the watch on, it several times during the night automatically does a reading.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah. That's
which
what
the
I look at.
advantage is, then you can show all those readings to your sleep doc.
Yeah,
Well,
no,
there's
that's
actually there's new functionality for sleep apnea, and I believe it's software only, but they talked about it in this, so we're yet to find out on that. So and believe it or not, so you say that you check your blood oxygen in the morning to see how you've done. Your blood oxygen is only good for about a minute. Your blood oxygen changed dramatically. It's not a history type of thing. It's only, and in fact, sleep apnea does not necessarily always affect your blood oxygen things, because if it's a quick apnea, you haven't missed it because it takes a little while. But you can always test that out. You put that thing on your finger and you do some deep, pump your sternum out, deep, heavy breaths, and you'll see it change within 30 seconds. And when you stop doing those breaths within a minute, you'll see your blood oxygen will go back down.
Right.
So
yeah.
it's very immediate. So in that case, that does no diagnosis to how you did for sleep apnea over the night.
Oh, right. That's why I like the watch, because I wear the watch at night. And before, I mean, that's what convinced my doctor, because my levels were below 88 at night consistently. So
Well, that's because you were being constantly monitored. Yes.
yeah, right.
So,
Yeah.
but some people have obstructive sleep apnea, some have non-obstructive sleep apnea. But anyway, the
Yeah.
new watch is going to be doing more with sleep apnea, and this isn't a sleep apnea class, but it's
Yeah.
good
Yeah.
and it's health. So, but again, I just wanted to be forewarned. But there are, if you're so the other factor, well, the two factors that Bob mentioned, the software not being able to do some of the newer stuff, and that's the limitations of the older chip. As the chips get newer and newer, they can do more. And we'll really find that out soon here when we talk about Apple Intelligence. But the other thing is battery life, and they can replace the batteries on older watches.
Okay,
So
good.
anyway, that's a big factor on age of it. Okay. So new colors, really, really neat. They've got the super shiny black, and these are all the aluminum cases. the shiny, they have the stainless steel still, considerably more, but I don't necessarily think it's worth it. The good old Milanese loop. Now you can see here the sensors on the bottom. So 4 of these sensors are for your pulse, and 4 of these sensors are the green dots for your blood oxygen. Now, yes, the sensor's there, but it's not active. The new watch can charge faster, so you can get an 80% charge from 0 in 30 minutes. The beauty of this is, because the watch has become such a diagnostic tool, that you may want to wear it all the time. Now, I know some people that say, well, yeah, I go charge it while I'm in the shower. Well, I wouldn't recommend that, because lots of home accidents and problems happen in the shower and sitting on the toilet, believe it or not. So I would recommend that if you need 30 minutes to charge your, well, first of all, you can get a second watch, but otherwise, if you need 30 minutes to charge your watch, do it in a situation where you have another device to be able to call 911 if you need to. Okay. So just be cognizant of that. For instance, my mom, she didn't have the iPhone or anything. This was way before it. But when she got a new cell phone, I would take her old cell phone. Any old cell phone, even without service, will call 911. So I hung up in her bathroom because it was also set up like a panic room. It was very secure in a small hallway, and she could get into just where the water closet is and lock the door. But I kept a old flip phone hooked to the charger and hung it over the toilet paper holder, so it was always there, so she could call 911. And I recommend that. So just more Apple Watch porn there. The big thing is the new one has an S10 chip, which is incredible, super fast, and it allows more and more capabilities. Some of I love the new watch faces they're doing to go in with what's behind it. So you've got 2 versions of it, basically. The watch bands, again, more Apple Watch porn. Oh, I don't know why I was going to delete that slide. So sleep changes. It can help track your sleep if you have sleep issues, if you have sleep apnea issues. But the big thing with the Apple Watch is how so good that it is for health and fitness. Medication reminders, that's a built-in app to the health app now. Loud environment. I think I had my wireless headphones on and it told me it was a loud environment around, and so I didn't care. But hearing loss is something that's cumulative. So loud hearing or loud sounds are cumulative. In other words, the longer you're exposed to loud sounds, it will do it. So your watch can do it. If you have atrial fibrillation, it's amazing because the health app does your pulse, which doesn't usually show atrial fibrillation. Atrial fibrillation is where you use the EKG on the side of the watch to get the electrical impulses. But the watch, they have gathered so much data because everybody's watch is every Apple Watch constantly, or not constantly, but periodically checks your heart rate, and it builds up a great thing that you can give to your doctor, because we go into the doctor and they grab our weight then, they grab our blood pressure right then. Well, the blood pressure right then is not what the average of mine is at home. If I take it a couple of times a day, you really get a good feel for that. That can all be recorded. Same thing with yours. And when you do a workout, when you use the app and you're doing outdoor walk or swimming or whatever in the fitness app, during that activity, it will constantly give you your heart rate, because that's really important to see what your peak is and also how you recover. And then when you quit the fitness task, it goes back to just looking at your heart rate periodically. things like being able to use Siri for it or having it talk to you, and now doing translation. And the translation has gotten really, really good. You don't have to use Google Translate anymore, and you can do conversation. This is just one of the things. You can have different widgets on the phone for different things. This would be, you can tell weather to alert you if rain is coming up or things like that. But here's the thing. So now, Bev, are you or Bob, are you using the sleep apnea built in, or is this, I think this might be new in iOS 18, if I'm not mistaken. Well, Bob's gone. Bev?
Just the O2. I haven't explored this.
Okay.
I don't know about this.
Well, I didn't really catch it because I was my internet connection went down a minute. But basically they are doing a lot with sleep apnea now, and the watch will help with that.
I'll put some stuff in too.
Okay, good. Yeah, what a surprise. Al's great with that, even though he is back on the East Coast. So it will look at your heart rate. And this is irrespective of whether you have the blood oxygen sensor active or not. This is based on clinical studies that use trends in your heart rate that they can predict it. And it's only because the Apple Watch gathers so much information anonymously and from a lot of people that they can do these studies and find things. It's really amazing. So this is talking about breathing disturbances, things like that, instead of having to wear that thing around your chest that tells you how you're doing. And I got to say, sleep apnea is very important, because what happens is if you're depriving yourself of oxygen at the cellular level, it can be very bad from a long-term aspect, but it also is very fatiguing. And the cells need it. There's a thing called the Krebs cycle, and the Krebs cycle is where it gets oxygenated. And I'll tell you, it's a big deal. So blood oxygen and sleep apnea can cause that in it, and more than that, it just causes lethargy because of lack of sleep, and can be stroke predictor. There's some new things, some Tide apps built in. So there were Tide apps out there already. This is important if you're a photographer or you're going to the beach, you want to know what the tide does. The tide is on a cycle, and it's easily predictable by your location and by the time of year. So this has been, what they say it, what was the old one? It'd been Sherlocked. So in other words, there were apps for this. There was an old app called Sherlock that was the way to go in and see things inside your Mac and stuff like that. Well, then Apple came in and built Spotlight. And so the Sherlock application became irrelevant. So everybody said they were Sherlocked. So in this case, all the other Tide apps have been Sherlocked. So you obviously, the newer the watch, the more water resistant it is. The new watches are pretty much waterproof, and this will track your snorkeling sessions. What's really neat is if you're underwater, there's a compass, because you get turned around when you're under the water or on top of the water but looking down. Logbook. This is new, and this is like doing your snorkeling. Like, you've always been able to track where you went on a bike ride or where you went walking. Well, now in your car, or skiing. I use the skiing app that tracks me when I ski. Now you can do it snorkeling. And this is the depth meter that's built in. And this slide should have been earlier. The sleep apnea is going to be available in all of them. There's some new bands out there, but these are expensive because this is the Hermes band. Hermes is a very expensive jewelry company. And the only time you can get the Hermes face is if you have an Hermes band. So that's how they do it. Nike makes some also, and they're pretty cool. They're usually very active. They were the first ones to have an app or a band that had holes in it for breathability, and then they were the first to do the Velcro bands. And this is just kind of the different things in the watches. So one band I really like, this is more elastic. This band is one of my favorites, and it's stretchy. Because until you get an Apple Watch and get a rigid band, you don't realize it. But your wrist size changes during the day, depending on activity and water and everything. This is the original fluoroelastomer band. This is a new version of the sport band. This is what they call the Milanese loop. That's a traditional dress watch. Here again is the fluoroelastomer band. I use this Velcro one the most. It goes in, and then the nice thing is when you loosen it, there's a tab on the end that won't let it slip past here. So there's no way it comes out all the way. And this is the typical bracelet type band where it closes and then clips. So the new watches are thinner. Oh, and I should point out there's more robust speakers. So that's one thing in the new 10 series is you get a better speaker. So I mean, they were pretty good before, but they're really good now. 18 hours of battery life. They will interface with Apple Intelligence. They've changed the screen a little bit. And what they've done is actually, they've got the biggest display. And what they've done is the watch is pretty much the same size. By the way, all the bands that used to work with this. But what they've done is they've made the edge between it's called the bezel, is thinner. So the actual face of the watch is bigger. And you also have, because of the what they're using, you can see it from an angle much better. Again, I said speaker. It's a wide angle OLED, the new jet black shiny aluminum. It will detect water temperature, which is nice. All manufacturing is completely carbon neutral on the watches. And it does charge really fast. We mentioned those two. And then they do have, where the Apple Watch Ultra 2 is titanium, they do make a titanium watch that's a higher price in the traditional Watch 10. This is another one of those tracking laps. This is really nice because it just gives you elevations. It's tied in now, and I think that's really cool. Then we move to the Ultra. They now have the Ultra 2. It's very similar to the existing Ultra. And I have the Ultra. I love it. You can get up to 3 days of battery life in it. I like it for a couple of other reasons. I'm one slide off, sorry. So the Apple Watch, order it last Friday, and it's good to ship on the 20th. Those are backwards. There we go. And that's the pricing on the Series 10, starting at $399 and $499. Now, I do this in my Apple Watch presentation about health, but I think it's really important. The Apple Watch SE and the Apple Watch 10 and the 9 and this down to the past the 6, you can purchase them in two flavors, so to speak. Forget all the colors, forget all the bands. What it has to do is whether the watch has the chip for cellular connectivity or whether it doesn't. So the GPS version, they both have GPS, but this would be GPS only, connects to your phone via Wi-Fi and or Bluetooth. Doesn't need both. But what that means is with a regular watch, let's say you go to the gym, and obviously your watch is connected to your phone by Bluetooth, but you decide you don't want to carry your watch around while you're working, your phone, while you're working out. So if the gym has Wi-Fi, they probably have one Wi-Fi system throughout. So if you take the phone and lock it in your locker and proceed to go into the weight room or where the aerobics are or anything else, as long as you're on that Wi-Fi anywhere in that facility, it could be 300 feet away, it could be at the other end, as long as they're both. And the watch is automatically on Wi-Fi once your phone is on Wi-Fi. You don't enter the Wi-Fi password on your watch or anything. It automatically picks it up from the password you put in on the phone. So as long as the phone is connected to Wi-Fi, the watch is connected to Wi-Fi. Therefore, you have a constant connection to it. It's farther than the Bluetooth range. It's however big that Wi-Fi goes. But let's say you leave the gym and you decide to go and do a 1 mile hike. If you have the GPS watch and you don't have your phone with you, the watch will still log your heart, do all your health activities. It will play anything you've downloaded on there, songs, if it's downloaded to the watch, and it will do all kinds of stuff, but it won't connect to the internet, and it won't make calls. It won't let you make or receive calls or text, and it will not be able to call 911 for you. So in the Apple Watch SE, I believe it's a $60 upgrade. It might be 50, I can't remember which, to get GPS and cellular. In the Apple Watch 10, it's $100 more. Used to be 120. And in the Ultra, it only comes in GPS and cellular because it's a little pricey. So what that means is, and I have always done this, I always would buy the GPS and cellular, but I never purchased a plan with mine. I would, because what happens is you pay anywhere from $5 to $15 to your carrier to have your watch be able to pick up cellular. So what that means is if you have a cellular watch with a plan and you leave your phone locked up in the locker at the gym and you go away on a mile hike and you're too far, you're not in the Wi-Fi range of your phone, if you have cellular and you have a plan, it can do everything it can when it's right next to the phone, and it's completely autonomous. In fact, it can get texts, it can stream podcasts, it can do all of that just like your phone would on the internet. And you pay $5 to $15 a month for that feature on your existing cell plan. But the thing is, if you buy the cellular version of the SE, the 10, or the Ultra, check with your cell phone carrier, because with the SE, over a 2-year period, they will essentially make it so you got it for free. So that's something to think about, because what they do is they say, okay, that watch is $429. We'll credit you every month you're with us, 1/24th or 1/36th for 3 years over the plan. If you leave us after a year, you still owe us the rest of what you haven't paid off on the watch. But otherwise, as long as you're with us, you can continue to do it. Now, let's talk about getting the cellular watch without a plan, which is the way I did it all the time, because I usually had my phone with me. I listened to podcasts a lot. If I'd go out and walk, I would use I had my phone with me and I could do the podcasts, but I could control it through my phone, start and stop. I can adjust the volume on the watch. I can turn the crown and it adjusts it in my AirPods. I can take calls, etc. when it's with the phone. If you have the cellular one, and it's usually indicated with a red ring here. In the old ones, it was a red whole big thing. You have the cellular one with no plan, and you get a mile away from the gym, you can't stream anything. You're essentially being the same as this with one exception. If you have the cellular chip and you have a fall and you become unconscious, or you can hit it and activate it, you can always call 911. But that's the only call you can make, because by law, every device has to be able to call 911 with no service. So that's the way I did it before. Finally, I ponied up and I said, you know what? I just don't even want to take my watch with me. And I'm worried if I'm traveling or something and something happens to my watch. Hey, the best thing is my watch is completely autonomous, so I can accomplish things if I need to. So that's and it's a small price to pay, especially if you're worried about falls and things like that. So any questions on that? I know it gets a little bit detailed, but it's an important differentiation. Okay. All right, moving on. So now we're getting in. You'll notice he has well, what's funny is he's showing the tracking of his speed there on that. Like, and on the new e-bikes, a lot of them have it where they tie into the computer. They tie into the phone, you can track it. But he's wearing the Ultra watch down here. And this is the Ultra. What we saw before, this is just typical. I think this might be a sleep thing, if I'm not mistaken. But it's a much bigger face. It shows you can do, they're doing track now, which is a good thing. But during a workout, so if you choose a fitness thing by hitting this guy, it will give you your constant heart rate and it will give you your beats per minute average. And then it's constantly running the blood pressure, I'm sorry, the heart rate monitor the whole time. So, and these, all the watches, isn't just this watch, every watch does that. Couple more screens. You can have it do your pacing for you and things like that. Hiking, I think this is the All Trails app. There's the watch again, a little bit bigger. It's more rugged. And I'm going to have to show you a picture in a minute, but you can see here, the buttons are protected by this. Instead of being recessed, the idea is that the extra protection here is to protect them, and it's also more accessible because in the other watches, they're more recessed. They're taking up that room to give you more battery and more energy. Then on this side, there's an action button that allows you to pre-program it to do what you want. You can program it to do certain things, a task. Barbara, go ahead with your question.
Yeah, could you use one of the fitness app, like say the walking one, and show us how you select it and how you use it? I'm not sure what you do, because for example, I used to use the elliptical one, and it
Well,
would
let
keep
me
going
do
after I
that
stopped.
let me do that at the end if we have enough
Okay.
time after talking about all the products. So
Okay, fine,
please remind me and I'll put my watch up and show you.
thanks.
Yeah, but please remind me, write it down. Can I get some of the co-hosts to do hand downs too, please, when you get a chance? Okay. Obviously swimming, there you see the watch. That's a unique band. By the way, that band that they have there is the real water band. It doesn't hold water, things like that. But then they make a second one that is bigger. So if you're a diver, you put the watch as it's your dive computer and you plug in the second watch band, which has a longer strap on it. So it will fit over a wetsuit. This ties in with the different cycling apps and does a cadence really important. This just shows the Ultra versus the others. One thing that's really neat, I now keep my elevation as one of my things on my watch, but some of these faces this is actually one of their newer faces. There's a compass setting right up there. That's UP, that might be ultraviolet. There you hit that and you'll get the weather. This is the temperature outside. Oh, this is the wind direction. Oh, so this is really a sailing setup right here. And you'll notice the elevation over here on the side. It's really cool. This is essentially an altimeter in both meters and feet, and it runs along the side. I just have one at the bottom that shows me the elevation, but yeah, I forgot, I do have mine up the side and showing my altitude. And that's not just, the Ultra has a little bit more room for stuff. That's the wrong one. We already saw. That was the pricing on the regular Apple Watch 10. We already did that. So this is the Ultra. They have a new color that's not shiny, and this is titanium. So it was really tough for them to make a new case that would be, titanium's hard to coat, and this new coat is incredible. And then they have this new woven metal watch band that is, again, more watch porn. So I want to show a side view again, more. Oh, that's the newest thing is they have with your tennis, they can track you in your tennis and say all these statistics. I'm not sure if it's built in or if it's a separate app. I think it's built in now. So Newton meters, that's force. That's the force of the shot. That's in Newton meters, and how fast, and so different tracking of the shot. Oh, so this is in golf. It's really cool. It tracks your shots. I use that, and it will tell you, it'll even suggest, the one I use will suggest what the club would be for when it knows how far the hole is away by GPS. And this is, I'm not sure what that is showing. Keep hitting the wrong key. Now, this is what I wanted to point out. On all the regular Apple Watches, the face is exposed. There, here on the Ultra, the shell of the watch comes up exactly to the height of the glass. So the glass is inset. So you are less likely to hit anything. Things would hit the outside. So while this looks like it's a seam or the glass, this is actually the titanium all the way to the edge, and the glass is inset inside it. And in fact, the way the Apple Watch is, the whole thing, from the back here to the front is one module. You could wear that as just a pendant, and it pops out, and that's how they do the battery, because it has to be waterproof. By the way, these are ambient microphones around it, and pressure and temperature sensors and things like that. This is the active button. These are both the new, this is the raw titanium and this is the new black, but this is this new woven band that looks really, really cool. So I run a tempered glass screen protector on my Ultra, and it's fantastic because it sits up above it and it takes all the abuse. The problem with the traditional Apple Watch is the protectors need to start to round around the case. But I have to tell you, as Bob pointed out, they're very, very, very strong. This uses a sapphire crystals. The other ones use Gorilla Glass. I also have a case that goes over the rest of it, but that's just me because I'm really hard on things. This is it's a really neat clip, and you have to watch the video. This was a shot of the video, and this thing comes in, Apple's magic. And then these actually pop out and lock it in. So for this to come out, you have to push that in and this one at the same time, and then it allows that to slip out. So it's unlikely you can inadvertently undo it. Again, here you get a little better shot of it. You can see here, this is the titanium rim, and the glass is completely encased in it. Okay. Oh, that gives you a better idea. Right here, you can get a good idea on how it sits inside it. Again, you ordered it Friday. You can get it by September 20th. Here's all the features. Sure, I did everything. The Tides app we talked about. Black titanium. Sleep apnea, same as on the other watch. This is the big thing here. 36 hours. So what is that? day and a half. And then you can put it in low power mode. The reason they've done this is it's a bigger watch, so it can have a bigger battery. And this is for going out in the backcountry and places like that. So you don't have to worry about making sure you charge it. You can go away for that. Oh, and I'll mention one thing I do. I don't have to do it on the Ultra, but on my old watch, like for instance, I have a 14-hour flight coming up later in a month or two. And you really don't use your watch on the phone very much. I mean, on the plane very much. So I do have a little fob that I can charge it with. It's a little battery, and you put it on the back, not where you're wearing it. But the idea is that it will, by turning it off, it's going to last a long time, and then turn it back on, because you're really not going to have much to do with the Apple Watch while you're flying. With me, what I do is when I fly, I take an adapter, a regular that plugs into a power outlet, and my headphones, everything's charging while I'm flying, so that if I have connections and things like that, nothing's a problem. Again, Apple Intelligence, 300 nits. What a nit is a brightness, and the watch face is on all Apple Watches is brighter every year. So, and now I guess they have a Hermes collection for that too. And again, there's the Hermes band on the Apple Watch. And this is a new face. It's not just Hermes, but it won't be, this is their stylized letters. It makes it hard to read, but it looks cool. And by the way, in the watch, it has their Hermes logo there. So that's been a successful little partnership. Again, this is very similar to actually, this is almost the complication I use. So these are called complications. I'll explain that for you. Think about an original watch with hands on it, okay? So you have the hour hand and the minute hand. And watches, until they went digital, were gear driven, right? So what happens is that means that watch has two complications, which are the gearing. So you know the little thing runs, there's a pendulum thing that goes back and forth that's powered by the winding or the battery. And as it goes back and forth, it obviously turns the hour hand much slower than the second hand. But each of those is considered a complication. What a complication is, it's another set of gear or gears that allows it to do it. So when watches were like that, you had the hour hand, then the minute hand, and then came the second hand, and then came just the date, because that was mechanical. That's another complication. Then you had the day and the date. And the other weird thing is, remember the old one, it was a 31-day month, and it didn't really, you had to kind of adjust it by one. And then you started getting another clock from another time zone, or you started getting a stopwatch or a chronograph function. Those are all complications. So to do that, then Apple they call each of these a complication. And so each of these, it's not mechanical anymore, it's digital. In fact, let me look back. I want to find a picture for you that'll illustrate another thing I'm going to tell you that's a little bit of cool trivia. In fact, right here. So if you ever look at pictures of Rolexes, you'll see that they are usually at 1010 or 1009, because there's usually a name and a logo, and in some Rolexes there'd be a diamond here. So when they display the watch at 1009 or 1010, it doesn't interfere with anything. For instance, if you had date and time over here on an old school watch, the arms wouldn't interfere with it. So actually, when an iPhone's displayed, it always says 941. And the reason it says 941 is because on January 9th, 2007, that's when at 941 in the rehearsals, that's where they figured out when Steve Jobs pulled the iPhone out of his pocket. So since then they'd had it. But the watches have always displayed it this way because of analog. And you'll see, we'll go back to where we were here. Apple's using, it's 1009. And so that's why that's displayed. It's just kind of a homage to old watches. So anytime you see, and other people can put their own photos up, but if it's an Apple photo, it will always say 1009. But again, each of those things is called a complication. And if you look how much you can have on here, like for instance, on this one, you have the elevation here on the sides. You have the compass setting here. You have, that's something, a workout or something. Your fitness rings. This is, oh, this must be centigrade because it's 5 degrees. Oh, this is a inclinometer probably for lean. This is a compass. This is the temperature outside. So during the weather that day, it's 52 low, 89 high, and it's currently this. And it changes by color. And it's right there. And if you tap this, it brings up the weather. Just like if you tap the fitness app here, it will bring up the fitness. I use this one. I have sunrise and sunset. So right now this is saying sunsets at 7:29 p.m. And as soon as that passes, it will then show you what next day's sunrise is. So those are all complications. And then the cool thing is you can have different watch faces set up for different things. So if you're somewhere and you need to have, you're worried about the tides, you just press on the face and swipe to the right and you have another face. And that really, I mean, it's incredible. So $799 is the Ultra 2. And the Ultra 2 is different than the Ultra 1. It's battery is slightly better, newer chip, I believe, and bigger speakers and the cool black color. So now we're going to AirPods and we're going to pound through this. They have a new H2 chip, and they have a new flavor of an AirPod. The original AirPod looked like this, and it was a great thing until they spoiled me and came out with the AirPod Pro. So the lineup now consists of original AirPod, and I think they're calling it the AirPod 2. Every device now is charged by USB-C, and all of the AirPods can be charged wirelessly on a G charger like your phone does. So you have AirPods 2, AirPods 4, and AirPods Pro 2. So that's the newer chip. And then these are the AirPods Max version 2. And its big difference is it's USB-C on the bottom now. Better battery life, a new chip inside. It also will work with Siri and Apple Intelligence. So adaptive audio, what it does, this is a new feature. If you have noise canceling in your existing AirPods, you can do adaptive audio. What that does is, before you had no noise canceling, full noise canceling, and what was called transparency, which kind of was in between. What adaptive audio does is it tries to discern if somebody is speaking in a voice, it tries to let the voice come through while still silencing or mitigating or letting the noise canceling go on. So it's very cool. Transparency we've had for a while. It allows you to have some capability of noise canceling. And then active noise canceling, ANC. The AirPods 2 have had that, or the original AirPods Pro have had that. The new 2 do, but there's a new AirPod 4 that does have active noise canceling. And that's again where it takes and listens to the ambient sound and cancels that out by creating the exact opposite sine wave. So realistically, you're getting twice as much sound, but in fact, you can't hear it because it's neutralized. I should point out, in noise canceling mode, you didn't used to be able to, but in the new software updates, you'll be able to have noise canceling if you're only using one of the AirPods that has noise canceling. The original AirPods and the AirPods 2 do not have noise canceling. The new AirPods 4 does. And spatial audio, this is works if you're doing things with the new, oh, and I lied, it's AirPods 4 and 4 with active noise canceling. They call them both 4s, so that won't be confusing at all. So again, they're the ones with they have a little shorter barrel on them, and they do not have the rubber tips. Some people find these more comfortable. It's there to me, it's harder to make them stay in. Then AirPods, so that's AirPods 4, and they can be used with your phone charger, by the way. They do have force sensors in them now, so you can adjust everything. 30 hours of battery life. So what happens is the case has a battery in it, and these will charge while they're in the case. So what happens is 5 or 6 hours is about your expected life out of this using it, and it actually goes to sleep. So it goes longer than that. But if you're listening to something, it'll be good for 6 hours. You put it back in the case, and very shortly it will be fully recharged. And there's enough battery in the case to give you a total of 24 hours. If you don't need noise canceling and you're hiking and you want to hear the birds chirping and everything else, if you use one, it'll be good for 5 hours. Then you put it back in the case, and this one comes out and you're good for another 5 hours there. And this will be fully charged up by then. In that case, you're good for probably 48 hours, just simply because, well, it's 30, so it'd be 60, because you're only using half of one. So conversational awareness, that's what we just talked about. And it's wonderful with the H2 chip. The AirPods switch seamlessly between your devices. If you all of a sudden bring up a video on your iPad, it'll start playing that if you're not listening to something on your phone. And the setup can't be easier. Basically, you open the lid and this thing comes up and says, connect. Phone charger, conversational awareness. These are the iPads Pro. So these are the AirPods Pro Max. They have active noise canceling, but anytime you have a big headphone like this, you also have what's called passive noise canceling. And what passive noise canceling is that just the fact that that thing is over your ear, or as they're commonly called, cans, that gives you a component of noise canceling. These things are good for, I think, 30 hours now. Those are what I use if I'm on a long extended flight where the 5 hours of noise canceling with both of my AirPods on won't work, AirPods Pro. There's some new colors out. Oh, that was back to that one. Sorry. Because I had to do these screenshots while I was doing it. I went back and filled in on the ones I missed. $549. This is not a cheap device. They're really good, but there's also other ones out there that are really good. But I think the best value in noise canceling over the ear headphones is Anchor. I think Anchor has probably the best deal. We talking about hearing. So the newest thing is you can with the new phones, and this is not out yet, but it will be via software. Oops. You will be able to do a hearing test using AirPods. And in fact, it can then become a hearing aid for you. Now, obviously, they look cooler than a hearing aid, but most people don't see hearing aids. So it's good and it's bad, but I think it's a really nice situation, especially when you're in a situation where you really need to just get a little bit of boost, you can do that. But the best part is it will actually do a hearing test. This is coming, they say, later this fall. And this is how it'll do the tones, just like you do when you're in the audiologist's office. This is the big deal. It'll get people out. Because the other thing is with hearing aids, hearing assistive devices is if you need it and you're not using it, you will start to lose more of your sense of hearing because your brain says, well, man, you're not even using that. I'm going to work on your eyesight or work on your touch, other senses that are important. So, and it goes again, it's all about education and health from Apple. It's been pretty incredible. The results. And the best part about it is, and I encourage everybody, Costco gives free hearing tests. Get one once a year. I went in, I got my baseline. I'm just to the point on high tones that I'm, after 3 years of testing, that I might need to look at something. So, and by the way, hearing aids have dropped in price dramatically because they passed, oh gosh, it was a year and a half ago. So like when you get glasses, you don't have to see an ophthalmologist. You can see what's called a dispensing optician because it's pretty simple to do eye tests. Now, if there's diseases of the eye, that's a whole different thing. They finally have made it so you can now have dispensing audio technicians or whatever it is, where the person dispensing the hearing aids to you does not have to be a fully accredited audiologist. So it will bring the price of hearing aids down dramatically. Unfortunately, it will make the audiologists have to be more competitive. But the thing is it'll democratize it. But you have to be careful because there's certain things in the ear that an audiologist really needs to diagnose. And there are certain situations, but technology is improving dramatically. And if you're not going to use AirPods for a hearing aid, which I kind of believe that you shouldn't, but make sure your hearing assistive device, Costco does great, they have great ones, but make sure it is MFI, which means made for iPhone. So MFI, made for iPhone, because you can do, it does some amazing things, being able to adjust it on your ears, you can check your battery. And the best part is, if you're sitting in a loud restaurant and the person you're at dinner with is across from you, you turn on live listen and you set your phone with the bottom of the phone sitting in front of them on the table. And because of all the background noise, you wouldn't normally be able to hear them. I mean, even if you don't have hearing aids, it's hard, but especially with hearing aids, because you're getting all this other noise. It leverages the microphone in the phone, and the person's voice will be picked up into the phone in addition to all the other stuff. And believe it or not, it does some noise canceling, and it will send that person's voice right directly into your hearing aids. It's called Live Listen, and it works on any hearing aid that has MFI, and it also works on current AirPods Pro and AirPods Pro Max, but it will work in the regular AirPod 4 that's coming out. So I encourage you to do that. Now, that being said, since it's connected by your phone by Bluetooth, if you're in a group of people and you decide you have to go, you go up to the bar or you go to the restroom and you leave your phone behind, I'm not saying you should listen to what the people are saying about you at the table, but it provides an opportunity. All right. The hearing aids coming, because while the US has lessened the restrictions, is kind of how this happens. And I think it'll be good, but it's also like anything else. You have to be careful with certain extreme circumstances, but it will be available later. This is the, oh, now you'll notice it has the rubberized tip. So these are the AirPods Pro 2. And so it has a USB-C charger. They've had that for a while, but they've actually changed it inside, and it will be able to do the hearing aids. I have not been able to ascertain, and I haven't really checked, if it's going to be a software thing where the older noise canceling ones will work or not. I don't know if the old one will or will not. And by the way, I went in that afternoon and these were available in the store. Only because the hearing aid's coming, but I don't it won't be there yet. But my old AirPods Pro they're pretty old. So I will have one for a set for sale cheap that work great. So you can ping me in the chat if you're interested. I have no idea what they're going for, but I'm always very competitive on that stuff. AirPods Pro 2, it had the same hearing aid capability. All right, we're getting into the meat of the phone, and we've got, oh good, we got about a half hour. So the coolest new thing in the iPhone 16 is you can put it on its side and run your finger up and down. We'll talk about that in a second. So the new watch, there's new textures on them. There's new colors. There's been some improvements to the non-pro version. And we'll talk about that in a second. Gosh, I'm sorry, my slides are out of order. New colors. This is the regular iPhone 16, not the Pro. The Pro would have 3 cameras. These have 2 cameras, and they used to be across from each other. Now they're up and down. And part of the reason for this is because you can take what's called spatial video. And spatial video is that 3D video that you see when you use the Apple, come on, help me. The virtual reality, come on now, what's it called? You're muted. You're no help to me.
Like it puts an item in a room or something?
No, it's the headset.
Intelligence,
What's it called?
not the Apple Intelligence, right? Not,
No. The
The view?
headset, the virtual reality.
spatial audio.
No,
One
but
you
what's
put
the
over your
device
head.
called?
Vision Pro.
Vision Pro.
Vision Pro. Thank you. God, I was like
So
spelling the word
many
hitty.
products,
I couldn't do it. Yeah.
so many toys,
What's that?
There's a
so many toys.
collective blank.
Bob, you broke up. What'd you say, Bob?
We had a collective blank.
Oh, I know. I think it's contagious. It's a good thing we're not next to each other. So that, yeah, something like that can be contagious. Anyway, so they put them up and down because the thing is now the 2 cameras, even though they're different sizes, they can create those videos to give you that 3D aspect. So that's the main reason they went vertical with those. So you can create like videos of your grandkids or something like that, and then they can be played back on a Vision Pro. So so we normally have the volume up, volume down buttons. This used to be, until last year on the Pros, this was a slide switch that would silent your phone or not silent your phone. It's now a switch that you actually press the button and you can program it to do what you want. I have mine programmed that when I press and hold this button, it will fire up my camera. And so I have instant to my camera. So that's a neat thing, but this button can still do the silent and all that, but that's what it's doing. Again, more of a matte finish. They've also, what they've done is on the face, I don't know if they made I think they did adjust the bezel size on that, so the screen is slightly larger. And now, by the way, this little thing here, that's the flash. And then all of your phones have a little itty bitty dot there that's a hole that looks like a flaw. Well, that's how your phone accomplishes noise canceling. On the bottom of the phone, where you plug it in, if you're looking at the phone, the right side is a speaker. The left side has a speaker too, but actually the microphone that you speak into, whether you're holding it up to your ear or whether you're doing it as a speakerphone, is the speaker on the bottom on the left side. But this has a small microphone right here. And in the 3-way camera, it's right in the center, right next to the flash. And that picks up ambient noise, because you're rarely speaking to the back of your phone like that. So if I'm speaking into the one on the bottom and it picks up the whooshing sound of the plane, this picks up just the whooshing sound of the plane and knows to noise cancel that. I can remember years ago going to a Sharks game, and it's super loud in there. And in fact, my watch would even alert that it's too loud and all that. And I could carry on a conversation because of noise canceling. The screen is much brighter. It's 2000 nits, and I don't know where the 1 nit was, but a nit is a reading on brightness. They have improved it. They no longer call it Gorilla Glass. I don't know if it's still with Corning or not, but they've improved it, and they've ceramic. They call it ceramic coating or ceramic shield. There it is. And the first generation was 2 years ago. So, and this is the touch. This isn't a screensaver. This is where all the touch sensitivity is underneath it. So now we're looking at the other side of the phone. We've always had what we call the sleep wake button. Some people call it a power button. Well, right now we have this, and it's not really a button. It does not click in and out. It will give you haptic feedback, like when you touch on the screen. But this is going to be multifunction depending on the app you're using. And the new sizes are 6.1 and 6.7 on the regular 16. Cool new chip. Again, you can see this. This is recessed, so make sure if you buy a case for any of the new 16s, it has to have a complete cutout here, because it allows you. You'll notice that this person's taking a picture and their finger is on that slider. It can do many things. You can adjust the lens. You can tell it to zoom in. You can tell it to stop and focus. Remember in the old cameras, we would hold down the button part way and it would lock in our focus for us. Well, this will do that same thing. You just hold it, but you can adjust it with different settings. It currently, when it comes out of the box right now, will not do the hold the shutter for you, but it will. And that button is touch sensitive. And think of it this way. It's like on a laptop, moving your finger across the trackpad. That's just a little bitty trackpad. The 3-nanometer chip. So what happens is they keep making the chips smaller, which makes them higher performance because the electrons don't have to flow as far. They've been on 3-nanometer for a while, but Apple was one of the first, and they're further refining it. But what it does is it takes less power and creates less heat, and it makes it wicked fast. Machine learning models, that's what's going to be important when we talk about Apple Intelligence. The A18 chip, super fast. I'm just going to blaze through this, but of course, these are the things here. There's extra cores. In other words, one core goes asleep. But the big thing is you're going to be able to do faster for language and advanced, and especially Apple Intelligence, which happens to be AI. The A in Apple, the I in Intelligence is Apple's AI. And to use less power also creates less heat. And heat is the big killer of your battery. Now, with Apple Intelligence, your data is never stored anywhere. In fact, Apple Intelligence, when you make requests, they will all be done within the phone. And that also limits it a bit. But then you have the option, if you want Apple Intelligence to reach out farther because you didn't get good enough results, you have to give it approval to go out and do that. But still, it's on Apple's cloud. It's very secure, but Everything else, the other phones, like if somebody has an Android and they're using artificial intelligence, it goes out over the internet. So all your information, you could be talking and asking about something very sensitive, and that would be an issue. It's
And
never stored. What, Bob?
clock.
Yeah, I was going to go till about quarter till.
Okay,
Thank
just reminding you.
Yeah, no, I thank you very much. I had just looked at it. This is just kind of, you'll notice this picture is around there is what's the neural network is what they call it. And it's where instead of one wire going to one place, wire connects to many. That's how our brain does it. Our brain has many pathways and many things along the pathway. And that's what machine learning and neural network is. But the big deal here with the padlock in it, your data is secure, and it will ask you if you want it to go out and do a bigger search. Okay. But still, it's in the private compute because Apple is keeping that stuff in house. They're not going out to Google. They're not going out to other places. They're using ChatGPT, but in fact, it's not going to OpenAI. It's within Apple's computers. It's kind of neat because you're going to really, I mean, Siri has been broken for a while. And to be honest, the reason Siri doesn't work that great is because Apple's privacy and security says, no, we have to keep that in the phone because we don't want anybody getting your information. So if you use the Google ones or Microsoft or OpenAI, they're using the internet, so it's super powerful. That's why Siri has not been very intelligent because it only works within the phone. Now it'll be able to leverage artificial intelligence. Apple intends to be completely carbon neutral, as in, recycled and everything else by 2030. They're really good. They're doing all their energy they use on manufacturing and using is all with 100% renewable. They have a huge solar farm up east of Sparks, Nevada, and they have another huge one down in the Central Valley. So that's it. Your stuff's locked. It's secure. Now, with this new thing, you won't even realize you're using AI will be like when you first realized autocorrect, kind of, wow, what did it do? And then there was grammar correct. So what it'll be able to do is if you're writing something, like for instance in this, it'll highlight it and you can ask for usage. But you can also, this would be someone, and this is if this person had written this, it will proofread it and it will help you with your grammar, with other words that might be suggested, etc. But one really leveraging thing about artificial intelligence is its ability to take, for instance, a long magazine article or a long tech article on magazine, who uses those, an online magazine, and you can say, reduce this to 12 paragraphs, and it will go through and it will give you a synopsis